This presentation will show you how to use the liability waiver template provided. What is a liability waiver? It can be a standalone contract or provision in a contract. The template we have here is that it's a standalone contract. It is used to educate the participant of an activity or service of its associated risks. The participant voluntarily agrees to the associated risks, and we'll discuss this a little bit further in the assumption of the risks section. It releases the company providing the activity or service from liability for an injury or damages caused by the activity or service. So, do you and your business need a liability waiver? These are some of the common activities that we've seen them with. You can also ask yourself, is there a risk? So you ask yourself, are you selling or providing a service or activity that includes a risk? And then also ask legal counsel if something goes wrong, if you'll be held liable for that. There are two parties of a liability waiver. There's the company, you, that will be providing the service or activity, and then there's the participant, the person performing or receiving the service or activity. The sections of a liability waiver are the ones laid out here. These are the typical sections. Some can vary based on the activity or service. So what is the assumption of the risk? This is the first section you'll see in the contract. It is one of the most important sections, and it's where the participant acknowledges that they understand the risk of the service or activity and the consequences of participating. There's a reason that the second section of this is in all caps, and that is to give extra protection to the participant so that they can completely acknowledge what the risks are and that they are voluntarily and freely assuming these risks and dangers. The next section is called Release from Liability. This is where the participant expressly waives and releases any claims against the company related to the activity or service that arises out of ordinary negligence of the company or any other participants or otherwise. The participant also agrees not to bring these claims against the company, and the participant may bring other claims not related to the activity or service. So this does not completely cover the company from all liability. The next section is the use of premises for activity or service. This is a section where the participant agrees that they are responsible to properly use and care for the company's premises. They also agree to replace or pay for any company property or equipment which is damaged, destroyed, or lost that they are liable for. The next section is the medical treatment release. The participant acknowledges that they are medically able to participate in the activity. Additionally, if something were to happen where the company would feel that the participant would need medical care as a result of the activity or service, the participant consents to that and takes full responsibility for the costs related to the treatment. This helps cover the company if something were to happen and they would need to bring in additional medical care services. This section is the responsibility for personal property. Here, the participant is going to acknowledge that while on the company's premises, the participant will be responsible for their own property and personal belongings. They acknowledge that the company does not need to provide security to protect their own personal property and belongings. And if something were to happen, it would be the responsibility of the participant, not the company. The following sections are boilerplate clauses. And so we ask you to refer to the boilerplate clause presentation, and they will go into these in further detail. So when you get to the form, you're going to have to choose between a service or activity. And this is based solely on your personal business. Does your business offer a service, or is it an activity that you're trying to waive liability for? A service would be something that employees are providing to a customer. Examples are a facial, a haircut, any sort of grooming. An activity would be something that the customer is doing themselves, such as gymnastics or a yoga class where they're experiencing the activity through themselves. So here we learn how to fill out the actual form. This is a screenshot of the top of the release and waiver of liability agreement. You'll see highlights. you'll see different words and different fonts. So we'll start at the beginning. The first highlight says insert company name. Anywhere that you see a highlight, you will enter something that is specific to your business there. The first one, insert company name. You will insert your company name in all caps, the exact way that it shows on your registration. That includes commas, periods, LLC, limited liability company spelled out, anything that is on your registration. The next one, you will choose between owner, operator, or sponsor. That is what you yourself, who is hosting the activity, will call themselves. And then the next one is describe activity or service. Here, you are going to enter a half of a sentence in where you will describe an activity or service. The next one is in parentheses called activity or service. This is where you will choose. Is it an activity that you're providing or is it a service that you're providing? If it's an activity, every single highlight after it that says activity/service, you will enter only activity in those spaces. If it's a service, you will enter only service in those spaces. And then we'll go to the next one. The next couple are just activity or service, and you'll keep it consistent. And then it says insert address. This is the complete address of the company that is on your registration form. One note, at the last highlight is activity or services in all capitalization and bold. Anything that is in all capitalizations, please keep it in all capitalizations and keep it bold, because this is to notify the participant even more. This slide is an example of the previous slide completely filled in with a fake company and fake names. We have now come to the end of the presentation. I'd like to read to you 2 disclaimers. This liability waiver does not protect from all damages. An injured party can still seek damages for injuries that could have been or should have been prevented. These files were created and reviewed by students and supervising attorneys at the University of Akron School of Law Small Entrepreneur and Economic Development Legal Clinic. These community resources were designed to educate and inform entrepreneurs and early-stage startup businesses. Therefore, they may omit terms or language relevant to specific situations and circumstances. The law reflects individual and personal facts and circumstances. Therefore, legal resources like these cannot be structured to fit every circumstance. Although the Seed Legal Clinic takes reasonable effort to update its resources and to provide current information, this document, the templates, and information provided are not legal advice and are not guaranteed to be complete or current. Any use of these resources does not create an attorney-client relationship between its user and the Seed Legal Clinic, nor does it constitute legal advice or other professional advice. It is advised to consult with a licensed attorney before using these forms. The user of these forms and resources assumes all risk and liability that they may result from their use.